Hello, gorgeous, beautiful, sacred, beloveds. I just wrapped up a stunning call on QCTV with Lauren, amazing, beautiful, brilliant being, and gorgeous community. Just the amplification field of pure peace and pure light radiance was profound. And we all shared our gifts with one another, and it was a gorgeous transmission. And one of the resounding themes that has been ever present in my life for the past month that we spoke into, that I just feel compelled to bring forward and speak into a bit with everybody, is the power of care artistry, really, is what it is. Being caregivers of ourselves, our lives, our bodies, our temples, our homes, our vessels, our relationships, our finances, our creations, and of reality right where we stand, in the way that we would nourish and care for a newborn child. And this this message has been resounding in my life and has been presenting its beautiful sacred wisdom to me in a plethora of ways. It has been such a rich deepening into love, into the heart, into pure power. And one of the recognitions that I've had with this, because we know that manifesting from the high heart is the most powerful space to manifest from, and it's the frequency that we carry through when we're engaging with animals and children and infants. And it's that beautiful song that arises naturally from our heart when we're engaging in that way. And one of the things that I have realized, and I've always been extraordinary at taking care of myself. For those of you who don't know, I went through a depth of, we'll say, health challenges and adversity that I transformed into opportunity and gifts and grace and gold and possibility to serve others, because I had solutions, because I went through those things. And one, I did not want to watch other people go through those things, and people who were experiencing them, I had an opportunity to present wisdom to, so that they could transform their own unique experience without having to endure the suffering, the actual suffering that I experienced, in order to create the shifts and the changes that they wanted in their own life. And here recently, it's been a next level of that, a next depth of that, a guidance into the profound, majestic spaces of still point, stoicism, pure power, and the capacity to reorient the totality of my reality instantly when I am meeting myself in such spaces of tenderness. Because I will say, those of us who are running businesses, we have a great service or an enterprise, and we've got a lot of projects going on, and we have a lot of responsibilities and creations in the works and collaborations. Although there's a dynamic, fun, electric, enlivening, orgasmic energy to all of those things, sometimes the very first thing that we can start to neglect is ourself and our own being, and our real requirement for deep, deep nourishment. And so one of the reflections that I've had as I've been moving through this experience over the past month, and I have a ton of updates to share with you all. I have, because I've been engaged in so many different summits and co-creative collaborative experiences recently, I have been fully booked solid and immersed in client sessions, which is why I haven't been as present in the online spaces. And it's all been such a growth beyond conception in such a rapid, accelerated, deep way, short period of time, and profound manifestations that have come into being that I'm excited to share with you all and show you the crystallization of very soon, but we'll save that for another video. But I've realized in my engagement with myself, I'm learning how to be, I'm learning how to be a mom in a whole new way. I'm learning how to be with myself like I would be with an infant, my infant at that. And so I've become hyper cognizant of even these micro spaces and places where I haven't been treating myself with the level of gentleness and tenderness and richness of quality presence that my being and my vessel beyond deserves, you know, I mean, we're all sacred manifestations of the infinite creator God in form. So, you know, even beyond deservedness, it's truly a requirement for all the totality of our organism and our life to flourish and grow and evolve and expand at its greatest capacity and its greatest, richest, most integral capacity. And so I've been becoming aware of where I habitually take care of myself in a certain way. Like even when I do my workouts, I'm very intensely present with my body because I know the power of that to actually grow and expand strength and all of that. Where I go, would I be doing this right now? If this were my child, what would I do? If this were my child, what would I give to my child? If this were my child, what choice would I make in this situation? And becoming aware of where I have been overlooking myself in certain instances in order to keep the peace, or because a certain level of fortitude or resilience has been created to the point where I have the strength of will, of character, of fortitude as a soul light to be with great intensity without it impacting or affecting me in any way. But this is not always a good thing. And I have realized this. There are things that I allow for longer than I should allow it, or there are sometimes where I just kind of brush over, we'll call it an injustice that I see happening in the world because I can be with it. But the greater perspective lately has been, well, that's great that you can be with it, but what happens to the next group of people that come along into the same scenario or into the same engagement? And so I've been placed in these situations where holy divine justice has been being called forth and asked for. And so the questioning has been, what actual choice would I make if I were choosing on behalf of the well-being and the flourishing of my child? It has really shifted my decision-making capacity, because in some instances I would be like, okay, this is a thing, this is a challenge that is arising, and I am willing to make peace with it inside of myself and move along and move in a different direction and go this way. But I wasn't called into the situation to do that. I was called into the situation to communicate about it, to express about it from love, from integrity, from true divine power, which is equality, where everybody is feeling empowered and loved and heard and seen in a space, and to really work with the dynamics of synergy and cooperation. This is so necessary on our planet right now, and coming at that from the space of, what would we do in this situation if we were caring for a child? What choices would we make? How would our decisions be different? How would we show up differently to that moment? What kind of consideration would we give to the scenario or to the people or to the situation or to ourself, to our own beingness? And consideration has also been another word that has become quite amplified, because I've become quite aware with, anytime there's not equilibrium or equanimity or synergy or balance, it's because there's a power dynamic. There's either power over, where somebody is trying to exert power over someone else, which takes the scales and it does this, and that has to rebalance because nature always seeks balance. Power with is this, which means everybody is equally empowered, which is what we're going for, because it's all us. It's all us. And if we do power under, then we make ourselves smaller. We become small. We feel the density. We get weighed down. And then that has to be balanced back out. So as a collective unit, I think we are learning how to truly work in a space and a field of rich integrity, rich synergy, rich cooperation, and to communicate and express in a different way, and to meet one another in very real, deeply caring, loving, understanding spaces. And this seems on so many levels to my being like, it's common sense to our soul. It is common sense because it's embedded in our blueprint. It's the ethics that are embedded in our blueprint. This is, what we all know. And, to be the eye in the storm during all that's unfolding on our planet right now, and to choose our divine majesty, to choose divine love, to choose what is actually in the highest and best for everyone. There's such a sense of richness and fulfillment and reward that comes from that space, because it births true love, because everybody's feeling honored and everybody comes closer together instead of pushing apart or separating, or having power dynamics or resistance, push and pull energy. Everybody comes in together from a space of pure equality, and then we can meet and have very real conversations around, and even if it's just a conversation with ourselves, that's where it starts, really, is the conversation with myself around, where have I been taking impeccable, extraordinary care of myself, and where can I deepen in that? Where can I grow in that? Where can I expand in that? Where can I actually set my work down for a little bit and give to myself, to drink from the cosmic well of life, to replenish my own nectar, and to stay activated and enlivened for all that it is that I carry and I hold and I show up to in the world. And those of us in leadership positions, like the capacity, it's all about capacity. It's all about building capacity, and that's getting greater and greater and greater now. And simultaneously, our greatest service is always just right where we stand. So what is the quality of our presence? What is the quality of our relationship with our reality in the here and now? And that's, how Aurora Ultimate Manifesting was birthed and downloaded, because it's really about connecting into the quintessential soul light and divinity of all life and all beings in all moments, and its precision. It's that focal point of Hieros Gamos, of knowing that is the only eternal, everlasting truth. And from that space, what arises naturally, organically, serendipitously, miraculously is profound. It's so far beyond what we can even often conceive for ourselves in our own mind. And that's the glory and the majesty and the gift and the grace of it. Because we simply just be in all of the things that we were attempting to make happen before, or trying to make happen, or trying to will into being, or all of the fun and fabulous tactics that we utilize to try to manifest and get our desires. It's kind of humorous. I'm laughing myself often when I notice those things in my own self, and it's so simple because it's just our natural state. We just be love. We just show up to love, as love, in love. And as a result of the power of love itself and the quality of love. So say we're about to eat food, and how often, all the beautiful sacred men in the world, I love you infinitely and dearly. And, I've seen it is very common in men that just eat. And I'm like, whoa, do you even know that you just ate? Do you know that you just put food in your body? Because they're just, they're big and they metabolize things quickly and they need all that fuel. And there's something really sacred, though, about having a relationship, of Tantra, having a relationship with everything. And speaking into our food and noticing it, noticing its beauty, noticing its color, noticing the veins, and if we're eating salad and our sprouts or our greens, and noticing the bright, vibrant, pigmented colors of nature, of beets, of tomatoes, of avocado, whatever it is that we are eating and enjoying and savoring, and really drawing out and piercing into the beauty of what is right before us, and engaging with the beauty and the divinity and the quintessence. And so the quality of presence in love to the divine light and all that is the most potent, palpable, ultimately rewarding and fulfilling way to manifest naturally. Because then you're just living your life, and you're connecting with life, and you're having a relationship with life, and epic creations of extraordinary proportion come to you naturally as you're moving through life, as you're moving through your day, because you are being what you are, and you are living in connection to the divinity and the quintessence of that which you are. But it does require, and this is where the energetic of caring for a newborn comes in, because if I'm caring for a newborn, everything else is frozen, right? I am so attentive to that beautiful sacred being in that moment. And I am loving and caring for and being tender and gentle and fully focalized and fully devoted, fully present and aware to that sacred life form. And I'm caring for it in a new depth, in a new way. And with that, so many other added layers and dimensions of reality start to reveal so many different aspects and qualities and characteristics of that beautiful being start to reveal themselves to me, things that I might not have seen before if I were just kind of going through the motions, or even just present at a superficial level. And by superficial, I mean surface, where we're just engaging at the surface of things and we're not getting the depth of what's available to us through each encounter, through each situation, because we're habituated to moving through life in a certain way. And there's so much that being wants to speak to me. There's so much that my environment wants to speak to me. When I'm connecting with another soul, there's so much that their tonality, that their voice, that their heart, that their soul, that all of who they are wants to reveal to me, to express to me, to gift to me. And my total presence is required to receive and to see and to witness and to honor and to celebrate and to cherish the fullness of what's there in that moment. And that's the gift. That is the reward. That is the nectar. That is the juice. And if these times are teaching us anything, it's that it's here now. Everything, it's all about being deeply, clearly, potently, richly present, awake, aware, and alive in our here and now, in total connection to the love that we are, in celebration. Kyros Gamos, it's the lover and the beloved. And this is also very deeply connected into the art of snake charming, So here's, and this is where this is really powerful in the realms of magic too, because things that we might normally fear. So a snake, when you're charming a snake, this is a sacred art and it's really powerful and profound. The snake is dancing, right? And it's exotic and it has exotic movements. And the way that creation works, our energy is shifting in such transient fluid motion. If we break presence with the divinity in that snake, in that moment, it will feel, even if it's for a micro moment, it will feel our fear and it will respond differently to us. And in the scenario of it being a poisonous snake, it might actually bite us. And we're coming into this space of reality where we're starting to have the awareness of how transient and how fluid that dance is. And the only way to have that, to charm that snake charming, because you're engaging with the beloved in it. And there's an equal playing field of respect that is present there. So it's, I see you. I see how divine you are. I see how exotic you are. I see your power. I see your glory. I see your majesty. And I'm following this thread with you. I am in deep presence with you. And I am dancing with the beloved in you and only the beloved. I do not fear you because I see and know your beauty, your divinity. And then what could have been a fearful scenario where a person potentially is bitten by a snake, and this analogy of this can show up in our reality, the symbology of it could show up in an infinite amount of ways in our reality, how our fear or our perception of reality and what we choose to see when we engage with reality, how it creates in our world and the impact that it has, and also the transient nature of it, because these shifts, it's instantaneous. It's like a kaleidoscope. It's a seamless sequence of ever evolving, ever shifting and transforming energy, sensation, feeling, light, sound, frequency, vibration, and what it is that we embody in any given moment. Our entire hologram literally reflects back to us with precision. So if I feel fear, my reality shows me fear. It's like looking in a mirror, and if I smile, I see a smile. And if I show or emote something else, then I receive that back. And so the precision architecture is like, what is the most pristine space that I can access and experience the greatest level of enchantment, of magic, of purity, of love, of connection, of truth, of highest level, highest quality manifestations in physicality, and while feeling the resonance of home within my own being. And that is that dance. And it simplifies everything down to a point of truth, the point of pure light, of pure radiance. And our mastery, the gift, the practice of the mastery is, where am I engaging in that dance and where am I not engaging in that dance? Or where am I skimming over the moment? Or where am I living on the surface of the moment and not meeting it fully and richly, full-bodied, full-blooded, here with my reality? And as a result of that, what comes into our world is staggeringly beautiful and mystical and enchanting and in resonance with what we truly desire in our soul. So there's all these different ways that we manifest. We define our desires, we decide that we are going to gift ourselves our desires, we create our desires, we attract our desires by amplifying our light, giving our light and our gifts to the world, and living in pure knowingness and havingness and celebration and gratitude in all moments, and feeling the frequency of the reality what we want to experience in ourselves, viscerally, somatically. And we define our visions, and we define what we think we want, and we receive those things. It's in my reality, and I imagine this is so for so many of us, and so many of you who are watching with me and sharing this experience with me. You just write in your journal what you want, and it just comes, it just shows up. Or your intuition, because you have written that and you have set a direction for the energy, starts to guide you in the actualization of that. So your intuition starts to guide you into the actions that are required for you to take to actualize that thing. So ultimately, that's what, defining the end result is. It sets a directionality, and the universe will meet us palpably, powerfully, profoundly in that space, especially when we're clear on what that direction is, and there's no interference patterns running, and it's just a potent, like, this is it, this is what I want, there's no wobble, this is what I'm going to experience, this is what I'm going to have, and I'm so stoked, I'm so thankful, I'm so grateful. And yes, and we move into the creation process vis-a-vis following our intuition, or that thing just lands powerfully. And there's something super sacred about being in the unknown, where it's like, I think that's what I want. And I always preface this or greater. I know for certain that I want this or greater. And so I program that into the hologram, into the field, when I'm connecting with all of my sacred allies and supernatural networks. And so they can go to work on my behalf to create the highest dimensional, most expanded, harmonious, delightful alignments for me uniquely in my experience. And being in that unknown of actually my expanded awareness. So even though my awareness is expanded out extraordinarily far, so I can see large and wide and grand for what it is that I want to create in my life. And then I take that big vision and I synthesize it down. So I start to look at, okay, what are all of these pieces? And then how do I build from where I am now into that grand picture? So the visioning wide allows me to see the blueprint. I receive the blueprint for the vision, so I can start working into the craftsmanship and the artistry of the fine details of the planning and the blueprinting and the building and the growing and the designing. So that visioning creates that for me, and being in the visionary realm activates the frequency viscerally in my being, which allows me to harmonically attune, frequentially attuned to that reality. So I'm only aligning with that resonance in my reality in all actualized dimensional timelines that are harmonized to that frequency. Meaning, if I'm desiring love, I get into the embodiment of the most rich, sumptuous, voluptuous, divine love. I'm like, I want what's real. I want what's true. I want what feels like home. I want what feels like, I want to give somebody a hug. I want to feel it. I want to feel like Mama Bear, and I want to feel king energy and queen energy, and I want to feel the realness of that love, the richness, the integrity, the closeness, the solidity of it. And so if I want to experience that, I get into that embodiment myself, and then I must align with other beings who are living from that resonance and from that field. And if I simply show up to the moment in the resonance that I want to experience, in a lot of instances, what I have engineered in my mind, what I think that I want, what I think that my next steps are, where I think that I'm going, these past several months have been a great example of it. I have defined my reality to a T, and I have manifested it to a T, and then I've gotten into the creation of it, and I'm like, yes, and I'm very thankful, and I'm very grateful, and if I'm being completely transparent, it's not what I had, it's not what I thought that I wanted wasn't what I actually wanted. And I think that we all experience this in different ways, but entering into it, I get to see that now and experience that now. And so then the question is, how does what I really, really want come into being? And so this is like creation beyond creation. And I would say it's mastery, but it's our natural way of being. And it also requires letting go of the shore and trusting infinitely and profoundly in our soul to align us to what it is that we're actually desiring. So can I feel it? Can I vision it? Can I have a sense for it? Can I know? Can I get into the visceral embodiment of the physical surroundings and the environment and the relationships and all the things that I desire to experience sensually and creatively and all of this? Yes. And when I am just devoted to the one practice of showing up to this here and now in full connection to my high intuition and enacting its guidance on a moment-to-moment basis and living in Hieros Gamos, direct connection, the lover and the beloved, doing that dance with the sacred divine in every engagement that I'm having with reality, every relation, every moment, the most miraculous creations come through in that space, the most pure, the most true, the most authentic, and oftentimes they blow me away. They're greater than what I have imagined, or they're things that I have dreamed far out into, and even just for the briefest of moments, entered into those realms, and all of a sudden it's like, when I let go of needing to have complete control or complete definition of how or the form of that creation, the way it shows up is mind-blowing, and it's so beautiful, and I hope that I'm making sense here. It's literally living in, and this is really where we're all headed, where consciousness itself is headed. It's just here now, being care artisans, being lovers of life, in love with life, where we stand, making love to life, making love to reality. I used to write for Carolyn Elliott's magazine, and she sent us all a glorious quote one time, is magic is intimacy with reality. And it's so true. That's how magic happens. We are intimate with the nature of reality, with the beloved, with the core quintessence of truth. And only the most miraculous reality could ever become of that. It's so simple, and it's so easy, and it's so fulfilling, and it's lush and sacred and divine, and it's like a cosmic breath of fresh, holy air. It's like, you can let go of all the systems and the methods unless you want to play in those realms, because those realms are fun too. I love systems and methodologies, and I run an enterprise, and so there's lots of planning and organization and directing and guiding and mothering the ship in that regard, and I love all of that. I love the tactical, logistical aspects of what I do, and getting that laser sharp. It's like the ice of consciousness, I would call it. Like what we're talking, the Hieros Gamos is like the hearth, the fire. And that space, it's like the organization, because it's just such pristine, hyper-organized data. It's like the cool spaces, the breeze, like you're just like diamond light coming through, like cutting a diamond. It's precision, it's pristine, it's sharp, it's focused, it's all of that. And it's really beautiful. But can we do both at the same time? Can we do both? And one of the insights that I have shared many times in different ways is that the future is flow. And what I have always meant by that is when we're actually attuned to our own high intuition, our own heart, our own soul, our own divinity, our own super consciousness, our own genius, and we're really connected to ourselves and what we know to be true, which automatically just like infuses our entire reality with our essence, our aura, our energy. So we're experiencing the purity of who and what we are everywhere we go. And we're engaging that dance with the beloved, and we're fully connected to our intuition. That's all that we need. But can we trust that? Do we trust that fully? Because there are going to be moments when our being guides us to meditate, to vision, to relax, to receive, to drink from the wellspring of the cosmos. And there are going to be moments when we are guided to go work out, to go run, to go dance, play, connect with a friend, call a loved one, send a message, create, build, do something very tactical and pragmatic in our lives to nourish our bodies, to nourish ourselves. But the question is, can we stay attuned uniquely to what that is for us from moment to moment? And so to bring it full circle, it's that question of, how would I care for a child? If I'm looking at my life from a holistic, from a perspective of holism, meaning I'm integrating all the dynamic facets and pieces, am I taking care of each dimension of my life like I would suggest or offer or actually do or provide for my child? Am I making sure that all of the elements are in that pristine, holistic, nourishing, fun, celebratory, activated, passion-fueled alignment? And is that taking place across the board? So balance is a huge theme with this too. Because as, adults playing the infinite game, we can get out of balance because we put our focus too heavy over here, and we neglect all these other parts of our garden that are like, water me, water me, water me, please. And so how can we create that dynamic balance like we would for a child? We wouldn't just not feed our child. And sometimes we forget to do that for ourselves as we're going through life, hey? So it's like building in that dynamic balance that is adaptable and fluid into our lives, and also being present enough to be with, what do I actually need in this moment? Because what we needed yesterday is going to be different from what it is today. So there's an overarching structure of, if I want my child to flourish and grow, if I want my garden to flourish and grow, and I've got 4 raised beds, I'm going to take care of all of them on a regular basis according to what they uniquely need and require in order to grow. I'm not going to focalize one of them fully and completely and take my attention off of all of these other ones. And and that's depending upon what each one of those things uniquely needs to grow. So it's each of us becoming intimate, this time inward, becoming intimate with what that is for us in each area of our life, and trusting our intuition, listening to our intuition. And it doesn't need to look like it looks for anybody else. It doesn't need to look like any plan that has been set forth by society or by culture or by any educational institutions, any of that. It's, what do you need? What is your soul asking for? What do you require? Stepping into sovereignty fully and going, I trust myself, I trust my soul. This is what I need, this is what I desire, this is what I require, this is what I'm going to give to myself, and assessing that to create a dynamic life balance, but building in that flexibility. And this is where deep, high quality presence is required, so that we know on a larger scale, yes, I'm going to water the garden every day. Yes, I'm going to water all of these facets and aspects of my life every day. And in the context of that, can I be adaptable? So maybe yesterday this raised bed needed a little bit more water. Maybe today it needs a little bit less. Maybe yesterday I needed a little bit more nutrients, and now I've reached a different homeostasis, so maybe I need a little bit less. But we're constantly feeling into what that is on a moment-to-moment basis, and we're connecting to our soul, our divinity. What do we need? What is being called forth from us? So deep listening, deep quality presence, deep quality attention, meeting the divine and the beloved in relation to all life, having that sacred dance, hieros gamos, being ultimate reality charmers, creating epic magic, keeping our own unique equilibrium in our reality, contingent upon what we uniquely require from moment to moment to moment, staying laser lucid attuned to that in our own high intuition, and letting go of the shore to enter into the deep, deep, rich, luscious, sumptuous, multidimensional, kaleidoscopic now moment where all the colors and all the vibrancy comes to life. It's a journey, really. like an actual journey, like we're going on a journey. When you're on a journey, you're in it, you're present, you're fully attuned to what is, and you start to observe the contents of your mind and what's available and what's accessible and where you can make shifts. Those realities are playing out all the time. It's just, are we living at depth so that we can see them, or are we living in the superficial realms where we're living on the surface of that, of what's truly perceptually and experientially available to us on a moment-to-moment basis? The depth is what creates sensitivity and expansion of awareness, because it's a letting go. It's a deep letting go, a melting into the solar plexus, into the sacral. And this is, the galactic womb of creation. The more we let go into which actually our sacral is the seat of letting go and creative fertility and life force, and ultimately the birth of all of our creation. So as we relax and melt into our sacral, that's where we start to release a lot of what we don't need to be carrying, and we start to allow space for new life to be fertilized and utilized as electrifying creative fuel for our creation. So, tuning to that space within ourselves. Are we melting deeply, fully into our embodiment? Are we kind of living from our upper chakras? And so often we have adapted to a certain level of stress in our lives, and we don't even realize that we have become desensitized to the data that we've been feeding ourselves until we enter into it. This is why spiritual awakenings can feel so profound, because we've kind of desensitized ourselves to the depth and the beauty and the majesty that's available. And then when that moment hits, it's like, whoa, all of this is available, and I'm seeing things at a completely different level. Things are landing deeply in my body, resonating deeply in my body in a way that they never have before. I'm receiving a depth of mystical awareness and insight and intelligence and wisdom from my reality that I wasn't really seeing before, because we adapt. We're very adaptable. We adapt to things that aren't necessarily the most loving and caring for our systems and our bodies and our minds and our beings. And we see how this is reflected throughout the world. It would not ever even be in the realm of possibility for a being to cause harm to another being unless they were so desensitized to the reception of the love that they are, which is what they crave. And because they feel so closed off from it, that is the response. That is the outlash of, I don't feel love and I have no idea how to get it. And I am upset. And that's putting it very mildly for some of the things that we see playing out. But it's all a matter of, are we allowing ourselves to receive love? Are we allowing ourselves to melt into the space of becoming intimate with the divine energy, the beloved that we are? That energy is the energy that we are, the frequency of home, of peace, of safety, of perfection, of novelty, of adventure, of fun, of play, from the space of the child, of the high heart, and becoming so intimate with that energy that we could not even ever even consider or imagine causing harm to ourselves or another being. And in the reception of that depth love, we become aware of where we can deepen in that in our own experience, or where we could maybe be a little bit more gentle with ourselves, or where we could allow ourselves to receive more, where we maybe haven't been giving ourselves as much space and nourishment as we really require to thrive and to flourish. And that if you're on the outside looking in, which is also a great way to make decisions for ourselves, when if we have a blind spot, it's like step outside of the picture, look at it like you're looking at it for your child, your loved one, your partner, your friend, and go, if I were looking at this scenario from the outside in, from a space of pure divine love, what wisdom would I give? And then allowing ourselves to receive that wisdom that we have for ourselves, so we can make the most authentic, grounded, probably highest and best decision for ourselves in our life. But opening, deepening, creating those spaces of stillness, and deepening into the sacral, deepening into the womb, deepening into all is well, all is good. Everything is perfect. I can rest in that. I can trust in that. When we do that, our DNA expands, our entire reality shifts to match us. And this is where profound manifestations start to unfold too. resonating in the frequency of home. And this is the power of all of these energetics. And we can return here 30 seconds of deep breathing, and not just thought, not just affirmation, but really like, okay, I'm home, I'm safe. Like, what does that feel like? What does it feel like to be home? And this applies to all the other dimensions that we're trying to manifest in. How does it feel to be totally cared for and loved and embraced and abundant? How does it feel to be met with passion and fire and unconditional love and celebration? And starting to experience that viscerally and somatically in our embodiment, so that we line up with those realities and those experiences. And some of what we see happening in the world is a result of beings who haven't allowed themselves to deepen into that space, to receive that love. And so we have this gorgeous opportunity to hold that field and show up in that way, and to continue to engender and amplify and augment the light in the entire quantum collective field of infinite beingness, because it is all us. I'm going to say it. It's so cliche. We are all one. We're one being. We are one being. So really think about that. Why would a being attack another part of itself? And looking at the reality that sometimes we choose this in a multitude of ways. And a great question is why? Starting with our own self and our own life, and looking out on a global scale, having an awareness that nobody is above or below anybody else. Nobody deserves more or less love than anybody else. Everybody deserves to be met with respect, with reverence, with honor, with love, with grace, with care. And it's not optional. My sweet, sacred beloveds, it is not optional. It's not optional for me. It's not optional for any of us. It's a requirement of the cosmic blueprint. And thank goodness we architected this into the logos, the intelligence of our design, of our patterning. There's so many places and spaces where I've heard people say, don't be too nice, don't be too kind. And there's something about, well, don't allow people to deter you from your truth, but kindness is a requirement. It's foundational, it's fundamental to be harmless, to give care, to give love. It's required of each of us. And we're, there's all these different ways where we're being guided back into the remembrance of that. And setting very solid, integral foundations for love to continue to grow and unfurl. So, living in these actualized ascension timelines, and the purity and the celebration and the aliveness and the juice and the nectar and the celebration and the dynamism of creation and free energy that's available in those realities is so profound. But as a humanity, we're in this beautiful space of that becoming our norm. But for that to become our norm, we're being brought back to these very real foundational ethical principles like kindness. And there's moments where I've had to laugh, even though some of these things are quite intensive that we're seeing. And that kindness would even be up for debate is just you've got to laugh at that. It's not it doesn't make sense. Why would a being not be kind to itself? And so just remembering to return back into those spaces as a whole, we can still be in our truth. And still, this is my truth, this is what I'm experiencing, this is what feels like it would be honoring of me. What do you think would be honoring of you too? And how can we cooperate? How can we create a synergy where everybody's winning, everybody is victorious, everybody is thriving, and nobody is negated from that picture? And that is all done from a space of kindness and unconditional love and honor. And it can be. And, this is the invitation right now for us to all shift into this space. And, it starts right where we are in our own lives with our own micro choices from moment to moment, and how we are choosing to meet and dance with and engage our reality. And this is a holy, sacred invitation to enter into that space of meeting yourself in other beings in all moments. And what would I want for myself in this situation? What if this were me? How would I engage? What if this were my child? What if this is the beloved? Because it is. It's, you know, it's us dancing with us constantly. So yes, as always, I don't quite know where these transmissions are going to go, but I trust the golden thread, and I trust the flow, and I trust that there is something, some jewel that was necessary and valuable for whoever is tuning in at different points in the video. I trust the fullness of the transmission, and I appreciate you for just hanging out with me and tuning in with me and playing with me and doing the sacred dance of life with me. I love you all so much, so deeply, so profoundly. Such a gift to connect with all of you who I have the honor and the privilege and the joy of connecting with, and the magic that we co-create together, and the vibrancy that we create together, and the art and the love, and it's beyond words. It's breathtakingly beautiful, and I'm thankful for every single encounter, and honored to just offer this as a sacred gift and a sacred transmission to you, and sending out my deepest love. I can't wait to share the life updates that I have to share with you all when it feels in flow to do that. It feels in flow to do so. I'm sending out my deepest love, my deepest gratitude, the most voluptuous, opulent light to you, showering your reality with blessings and miracles and joy and delight and the pure frequency and resonance of home. May you be infinitely blessed, infinitely embraced. May you feel that you are infinitely blessed and infinitely embraced. And I look forward to so much more. I love you all. Connect in with you soon. Mwah.